So the very latest on the stimulus in the United States. We did get word overnight from the White House that the White House senior advisor speaking to the Wall Street Journal and others that the first stimulus is all but tapped out, and we're moving now on a second stimulus. So take a look at this. I didn't realize these numbers, but holy smokes, look at this. Coronavirus stimulus funds are largely depleted after 9 weeks. The so-called CARES Act projected a $1.2 trillion direct aid ranging from unemployment benefits, forgivable business loans, cash payments for household, hospitals, cities, states. Congress topped that sum in April with an additional $400 billion for small businesses and hospitals. Of the total $1.6 trillion, roughly $1.1 trillion is gone. Almost 70% has already been distributed and depleted. How do you feel about that? Do you feel resurgent? Almost the entire CARES Act is gone. So you know what the old argument was from the GOP, right? You know what Mitch McConnell said last week. Mitch McConnell said last week that they wanted to take this wait and see approach over the next month to see how the economic benefits of the stimulus have rolled out, the first CARES Act, see what that's done to the economy. All right, well, we've got it. We have it now, right? All of these funds are now basically depleted. They're gone. This money has been dispersed. How are we looking out there right now? How are we looking? Let me know in the chat how we're looking. Looking like Grover over here? Look at Grover. I think that's how the economy looks right now. That's how we look. So if Congress is waiting on this sort of wait and see approach to everything, I think we have some of the data here. And again, I come back to that first story that we did on today's show, which specifically addresses this idea of people sitting on their money because of a lack of consumer spending, a lack of consumer confidence in the market, a lack in faith in their government. So that money was dispersed. If you had $500 in your bank account, you saved that money, you didn't spend it. Those are the facts. And now Americans are facing massive evictions. They're going to be homeless. So we have this data. What are we waiting for? Andrew Yang says we've got a number of these proposals on the table right now. He's been calling for universal basic income. There's a renewed push this week from senators and from Democratic senators in the Senate, Sanders, Kamala Harris, and Ed Markey. But there's also been Republican support for direct regular payments to the American people, scheduled regularly. Now, we don't know the size of those and if they'll pass. I'll get to what the White House is planning in a second, but here's Andrew Yang and his words about this impending disaster.
You have to look at the opportunity we have right now. Our problems have accelerated where we've experienced 10 years worth of displacement in 10 weeks, but we have a real chance here to alleviate poverty. Right now, there are multiple bills that would put $2,000 a month into the hands of every American for the duration of the pandemic, which we all know may extend for months, even years. And I will suggest to everyone that if you actually pass that, it's not like you can take it away from tens of millions of Americans like 18 months from now, because our economy is going to be a shambles ongoing. I mean, we're facing a new Great Depression, but there are legislators that have bills on the table that if enough Americans get behind, we can pass this today.
Right. And so, again, in the description of this video, we have a link to that petition. Now, it's on change.org. You just have to sign your name to it. You don't have to spend any money. You just affix your name to this petition, calling on Congress to pass that $2,000 per month stimulus plan. $2,000 per month. The link is in the description of this video. Go there, add your name to it. I know many thousands of you on yesterday's show added your name to this petition. Let's get it up over 2 million, okay? Let's drive this. Congress cannot afford to ignore this with millions of Americans calling for a $2,000 monthly stimulus plan, okay? And as the Federal Reserve has said, we can worry about the debt later. Americans need cash in their hands to spend money to keep our GDP afloat. Businesses that cannot go insolvent and collapse and lose jobs permanently. That's the concern. A loss of permanent jobs. A loss of workers' ability to do the jobs that they had months ago by having an apathetic approach to their skills, like they just don't know how to do this job anymore because they've been laid off for 4 months. They don't remember how to do it anymore.
The record shows that deeper and longer recessions can leave behind lasting damage to the productive capacity of the economy. Avoidable household and business insolvencies can weigh on growth for years to come. Long stretches of unemployment can damage or end workers' careers as their skills lose value and professional networks dry up, and leave families in greater debt. The loss of thousands of small and medium-sized businesses across the country would destroy the life's work and family legacy of many businesses and community leaders.
And of course, people not spending. And that drives down our GDP significantly. Remember, 70% of our GDP is fueled by consumer spending. So, we spoke to our good friend Tom Wheelwright. He's one of the smartest CPAs in the world. He runs the Wealthability Network of CPAs. He's been my CPA for a number of years. He's a fantastic, he's a genius. He used to work at the Treasury Department, and he's a rich dad advisor and a good friend. And because he's so plugged into the Treasury, has a lot of friends at the Treasury, he said, look, the good news is another stimulus is coming. And he thinks there could be some protections in there ultimately, once the Senate gets their hands done with this, for rental assistance. Listen to Tom Wheelwright.
The other good news is that there will also be another stimulus package. That is absolutely sure. We don't know what it will look like. We know the House has passed their version of it, which is very different than what we expect the final version to look like. There are a couple of things we do need to be aware of in that House version, one being that the net operating loss carryback that was opened up in the CARES Act they would decrease the benefit of that somewhat. So we do need to pay attention as that's coming, but that's also hopeful news. I do think there will be another round of stimulus checks. I don't think there will be another round of loans like the PPP loans. So for those of you who are entrepreneurs, there might be something in there about real estate. And I know that's your big focus here. And what we're hoping is that there might be some help in there for people who are, instead of the CARES Act, which was focused on employers and employees, there's maybe a little more focus on tenants and landlords.
So that's good news. That's Tom Wheelwright, one of the smartest tax accountants in the country. And he eats and breathes the tax code every day. And he used to work at the Treasury Department, and he's been, has a lot of friends in the Treasury. So we had this discussion yesterday. And by the way, you can watch our full video. We're going to publish that in a few days with Tom, where we had a deep dive, a lot of stuff that relates to the CARES Act. As an entrepreneur, how can you use that? So feel free to check out that. It'll be an hour-long special video that Natalie and I did. So check that out. So the White House. Now, the big news overnight is that the White House, the Trump administration, is now talking, and National Economic Council Director Larry Kudlow and Kevin Hastert said that they are focusing on reopening the economy, and they want to offer tax and regulatory incentives to help spur growth. White House officials are set to meet, as Mr. Trump said, as soon as this week, okay? They're gonna meet this week at the White House on a second stimulus package to discuss options for another legislative package. By the fall, they said all signs of the economic recovery are gonna be raging everywhere. That's what Kevin Hastert had said before. He said that on CNN State of the Union back on May 24th. I played you the soundbite here from Kevin Hastert back then. He said, by the fall, all signs of economic recovery are going to be raging everywhere. When I see raging everywhere, I picture like Dorney Park and Wildwater Kingdom in Pennsylvania, like Whitewater Rapids, and everyone's raging and having a party. We're just so excited the economy is back. 40 million people out of work. It's going to be raging. I mean, we're in June. We got July, August, September. That's the fall. We got like 3.5 months. I hope so. I hope he's right. I hope he's not just being optimistic. So what is the White House looking at? Well, here's what the White House is looking at. Let's go to the whiteboard, shall we? I'm going to draw a little something here for you. Here's what the White House proposal is looking like, okay? Excuse my handwriting, but here's what they want to do. They want to return to normal. So this is the proposals. They want to return to work and resume normal life. That's part of what they're discussing. This includes going out to restaurants and taking vacations in an effort to jumpstart the economy as quickly as possible. I like restaurants. They also want to move into an area where we can take vacations on a regular basis. And that's really it. Draw a little palm tree here. I was like hoping that there'd be more in what the White House is discussing. According to the Wall Street Journal this morning, this is it. Let's draw a little sand here. I thought that there would be more. So again, return to normal life. What does that look like? Go out to restaurants. Take a vacation. Take a vacation. Okay. Does that sound like a good plan to you? Go out to restaurants, take a vacation, return to normal life. Among the incentives that we heard from the White House before, among the proposals that they have put on the table before, is a payroll tax cut. They want your paycheck to be reduced, the amount of taxes that you had to pay out of your paycheck, which sounds great on its surface, but both parties have rejected that. Republican leaders and Democratic leaders have said, no, we're struggling right now for revenue. If we cut that, what are we going to do for revenue? Social Security is going to crumble. Where are we going to get money? We're going to cut payroll taxes again? They just did that 3 years ago under Trump's tax cuts. And capital gains cuts. That's the other proposal from the White House, capital gains cuts for investors. And they want to decrease unemployment benefits. They're at $600 per week right now. They want to decrease those from $600 down to about $250 per week or $300 per week. This is where we're at. We're tying our hopes and dreams around reopening. So the White House is really hoping on this reopening plan, that they want us to get back out there, enjoy the open skies. They want to go to restaurants, take vacations. And then, of course, Democrats and some Republicans are encouraging that additional regular payment to the American people. And I don't know that we'll see that. I don't know that we'll see that from a Senate that's led by Republican Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, who wants to cap this thing at $1 trillion. The problem with this whole idea, of reopening as the salve to our wounds, is that we're having trouble with that. And reopening is problematic at the moment. Restaurants have closed, businesses have are closed permanently. People are sitting on money because they don't want to spend it. So the story that I brought you at the beginning of the show has money in the bank coming, you're getting your stimulus payment, but you didn't spend it because you're nervous about the government. So now they just want to reopen as the answer to everything, and no more money's coming in. People are nervous. People have no faith in their government right now. And on top of that, reopening. So let's look at the latest cases here, because now we're already seeing spikes in cases. Every Thursday I like to bring you these numbers. I'm sorry, something was wrong with the chart today, and I couldn't bring you Florida in these numbers, but I will tell you what that looks like. So Texas, Arizona, and Oregon saw significant spikes in coronavirus cases over the past week, while cases also continue to climb in a handful of states where steady increases have become the norm. So why does this matter? Because nationwide, new cases have plateaued over the past week. And to get through this crisis, we're going to need to get back into the world. We need them to go down a lot. A lot. So Florida is in white. I couldn't bring it up here on the chart for some reason. It was giving me problems. So white, anything in white is pretty much neutral or has gone down just a touch. Okay, white is just not much of a change. Blue is good. That's going down a lot. Okay, that's good news. But Oregon up 53%, Arizona up 101% in cases, Texas, look at that, up 51%. Now Texas is troubling because, well, you're allowing evictions to unfold again in Texas. Supreme Court there said, yep, go ahead forward with evictions again. They're expanding unemployment benefits for another 13 weeks, which is good. And Texas is calling on the Republican National Committee to move the RNC convention out of North Carolina, which we now know that it's going to be moved. Texas raised its hand and said, yeah, we're doing great over here in Texas. Bring it here. Our cases have been going down. We're doing well. Would you go to an RNC convention in Texas packed together like sardines in a big convention center? When you see these numbers? A 51% increase in cases, and Arizona 101%. Georgia is doing better. North Carolina up 29%. Colorado up 12%. Utah up 28%. California up 24%. Nebraska, which was struggling, still up 15%. So, you know, if we're supposed to be doing better right now, we're not necessarily doing better. And when we have 1/3 of unemployment benefits have yet to reach the American people, and we're hearing White House proposals saying, get back, you know, we want to reopen as the answer, the salve to our wounds, and decrease unemployment benefits from $600 down to $250 or $300. So there you go. That is the latest on the stimulus. That is the latest from the White House. Yes, the Senate and the White House expected to have some discussions this week. The White House and their team going to get together, barring any, you know, it could be rescheduled if there are greater demands because of the protests. That's what we're hearing from the White House. That could be rescheduled if there are more immediate concerns because of the protests, the George Floyd protest nationwide, which we've also got that on our plate, right? So we need an all hands on deck approach to this. I sure as heck hope the Senate is paying attention to this and is not sitting there waiting and see approach any longer. You know, this idea of waiting and waiting and waiting to see how the economy is being affected. We see how it's being affected. We see the numbers now, okay? Unemployment is heading to the Great Depression levels right now. And Americans aren't spending that first round of stimulus money if they had $500 in the bank. They're sitting on it because they have no faith in their government. And unemployment benefits are not being handed out properly. All of the data is here. And tomorrow we get those jobless numbers from the Labor Department. We'll have the real numbers tomorrow from the Labor Department, and I will bring those to you right here on the show. And we'll see what kind of movement we see from the Senate. Now, this is Friday. It's going to be June 5th. Remember, we only have like another week or two before we end up having them go on a 2-week vacation again. The Senate will go on their July 4th 2-week recess. And then remember, they're off the whole month of August. So we know what Roy Blunt had said yesterday. We know that the senator was considering saying that, look, we're not going to see anything until August, that we're not going to really tackle this thing in June at all. This is Republican Senator Roy Blunt, who's one of the top senators on the GOP side, that August sounds good to him, in his words. August, just right before the August recess is when we might see something. So that's the latest on the stimulus, folks. Please subscribe to the channel. If you're new here, please hit that subscribe button. If you're new here, you know, it really helps us to grow, and also share this video out with anyone you think could benefit from learning about this. And remember, sign the petition, okay? Sign the petition for that $2,000 per month stimulus plan. It's in the description of this video. Share that out on Facebook, share it out with your friends, okay? And that will ask for $2,000 additional per month. Let me put it up here on the screen. You know, get a regular paycheck, fuel the economy, get money into the hands of the economy, okay? Help businesses, help us buy groceries, help us buy gas, help us, you know, fuel this economy. Otherwise, we are heading for a major walk off a cliff. So please sign that petition. It is inside the description of this video. Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you back here tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern. If you subscribe to the show, you can expect that every day. I do want to open it up for some Q&A here, and Grover had to jump up in my lap. You want to say hi, buddy? Hi, buddy.